Hi, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Power of Knowing Forums. Join the C-Suite Talks, a LinkedIn live event, episode 213 today. We are discussing on the topic of leadership in action, strategies that drive operational excellency. To have this topic discussed, we have Mr. Suresh Krishnamachari, panelist, moderator, speaker, and an SME on operations and procurement. Without further ado, let's welcome our esteemed speaker along with my co-host Mr. Vijay to the podcast event today. Hi Suresh.
Good
Hi
evening,
Vijay.
Prem.
Good evening.
Good evening,
Welcome to our
Vijay.
show, sir.
Hello Suresh, hello Prem, hello everyone, good evening.
To start with, sir, a brief about yourself, an
Yeah,
intro that would help us to know you better, and some transitions and some learnings during your journey would help us.
yeah. So
Okay.
first, I'd like to thank Prem for this platform. It's an amazing platform for helping people and providing inputs to the various stakeholders on multiple topics. And congratulations for 200 plus episodes.
Thank you.
That's really an amazing feat by you. I want to congratulate both of you on this. Yeah. Regarding myself, I'm a corporate professional with a navigated career of sales of 15 plus years experience, and then subsequently moving into operations, and then parallelly also into my leadership coaching and training, which I'm into the certification process. And I've been worked across multiple sectors, verticals, geographies, and uh, and now presently I'm based out of Chennai.
Great, sir. See, we've been talking on this topic of leadership for a very long time in the last 200 plus episodes. Now, looking at leadership, everybody has a different way of looking leadership. What is leadership in specific when we talk according to you, sir?
Yeah. See, leadership is a trait. It's actually, you cannot put it as one particular word or one particular trait, which is most prerequisite. It is a culmination of various characters that put somebody as a leader. But the most important thing, a leader is somebody who's in high pedestal. He is able to see things which others can't see. That's why he's perched at the top. Now, having said that, when he's at top, people look at it as a guide, as a kind of inspiration, as a motivator, and for each and everything, he is the man. So it's the responsibility much higher. Depends on the kind of role which he operates, and he also keep inventing himself to perform his operation on a day-to-day role.
When we talk about leadership, the operations excellence also matter, right? So, in your view, how do you brief operation excellence that matters to your leadership?
Yeah. See, operational excellence is basically a work in progress. You have a fixed destination which you want to achieve, and you have a system of systems and procedures you have to adherence to the process. That is the one end. The ultimately other end is basically the stakeholders for the organization, for the employees. For a professional like us, how do you balance between these two is the key trick or key thing which you have to do on a daily basis. So I would say it is the first is the mindset that you have to have the commitment to excellence. It starts from there. Each and everything you do, you have to have the mindset that it's to excel, and you also carry the other stakeholders towards objective. So that would be my intake on that.
Oh, thank you for that. I think while we look at some of the functional areas we adopt as leaders, there would be always something which is going to change and it constantly evolves, right? Even the operations, the customer demands and stuff changes over a period. And how is that you can look at, or can you share some insights in how in your functional areas you adopted the insights where we looked at for the operational role?
Yeah. See, as you rightly said, no one size fits all. That's the approach we think. I can correlate an example which happened post COVID. It's a
Hmm.
new world order for everyone, right? For the organization, for the employees, for the systems and process. So, in that kind of scenario, we need to work from a different perspective. The earlier the system and process adherence and the present one, it's totally different. So we took a small trial and we a 1 week period, and we absolutely kept things loose because for the batch which is coming on board, but at that particular time, for them nothing of the previous history or story matters. Okay, but for operational people like us, we had a legacy of the 15 years legacy and rules and regulations. We had to balance that, and we also mix and match this. So we devised a kind of interim method to go with the flow, which means slightly modifying, slightly adjusting, okay, slightly breaking the rules also, if I had to use the right word, in the larger interest. So I think that is a very key requisite for an operational person. One is you don't need to keep looking at the Bible or a book or the books blindly and do things. You need to evolve the current situation and act accordingly. So that the COVID post-COVID thing in terms of operation, whether it is a corporate mobility aspect, the fleet transport, or even for the cafeteria, day in and day out, there were challenges for the first few weeks, and then we started evolving a process and which make things easier for everyone.
How do you balance operational efficiency with a people first leadership approach?
As you
I mean,
rightly asked, the question itself carries the most important criteria. We should have the balanced mindset. So when I'm talking about balanced mindset, I'm talking about how equipoised you are. So we all face situations on a day-to-day life, in a working life, and it's very important that any point of time you don't lose the balance. When you don't lose the balance and you are at the center stage, automatically your mind works in the takes the logical right decision. So that is the first prerequisite. I'll do it. And of course, as I was talking earlier, the system and procedures and the employee thing, always there'll be a gap. It is our skill set to reduce the gap and to make it a win-win situation in the larger interest of the organization and the field force.
Uh, Always, when we look at operations, there is lot of hindrance which we face on employees' wellness and other aspects. Does operational excellence pose a hindrance to employee wellness? Is another question that I want to bring it up. So, what is your thought on it?
Yes. If you focus only on systems and process blindly, it becomes a hindrance.
Hmm.
If you focus the employee wellness as objective in end in mind, if you focus on organizationally a bigger purpose, if you start looking at the bigger purpose, the way in which you do things, automatically you will get a kind of solution towards that. So what you perceive or what others perceive as a hindrance can be a solution. So it's purely approach which you look upon things is a key there. The key differentiator is that.
what is your view on working with millennials and Gen Z experience and their expectations?
Yes. See, gone are the days where where you can box people according to their kind of aspirations or according to their age and thing. Now, the Gen Z and the millennials, the present, their awareness level is much higher than the earlier one. We should all agree to that. That's thanks to social media or thanks to the information knowledge era which we are into. So we need to be on par with them. We need to think what are the questions they're going to ask you on this. You need to be prepared. What are the kind of errors or maybe unplanned things which can happen in this task? So, but one thing is, you have to acknowledge them. You have to appreciate them whenever they give some kind of inputs. You also have to respect them, though the age is very less. When you respect their views and they fall in line. Otherwise, what happens? The gap further widens. When the gap further widens, what happens is it will be like a forced acceptance. When there's a forced acceptance, they will not sync with your objectives. When there's no sync with your objectives, then your objective of reaching the bigger objective will not happen. It's all a loop, one by one.
Prem?
Yeah. Now, what is the most unconventional leadership decision that you made that had a impact on two things? One is on the team's morale, and how do you look at enhancing productivity when you look at uh, uh, bringing up unconventional leadership decisions?
Yeah. What do you mean by conventional? Unconventional, two things. A conventional, basically a tried and trusted path. It is always easy to travel. You don't need to have put the blinkers on, go by the books and do things. That's what people expect you to do. But when you try to do the unconventional way, which means keep asking the questions, keep trying to find out there's a better way of doing things. In fact, I tell the team, if you keep on doing things mechanically, stop there. See if anything else can be done better than this, and you will find a way. You'll start thinking. If you, it's a case in kind of process. If you keep thinking that this is the best thing on earth, you will get stuck. So unconventional ways, I can give an example. When we again this, the post-COVID things, we change the entire trajectory of our approach. Okay, how we you run your mobility, or how you do your procurement, everything. We broke completely the new paradigm. And initially, there was a turbulence. Any change gives you resistance. It will be missed in the initial. That's with the stakeholders also. But once people start seeing the result, okay, tangible result, I think the unconventional way also plays a very, very pivotal role. It need not be every time, but you need to look at unconventional of doing things wherever possible.
In your view, what's a common operational pitfall that leaders often overlook, and how can they avoid it?
I would say attention to details. See, what happens is when you are working in a various parameters on a day-to-day basis, you tend to lose focus, right? You tend to look micro things in the micro aspect. In that, the micro aspects only pave way for macro mistakes. So I would say the most important thing is look at the details. There's always saying, no, the devil is in the details. So each and every detail matters. And what you think a small thing which actually will become a bigger issue later. So that's one thing leaders tend to miss out because their hands are full with various other activities. And the second thing is look everything in a very as it is. Right? You don't have any preconceived notions about anything. Look things as it is, without any kind of influence on that. When you look as it is, you automatically will get to navigate into a right, correct centric solution approach.
Now, looking at some of the operation challenges that we face, one is I want to understand how do we tackle them, and most of the time people get broke, or they get into a tough situation where they cannot manage and do things, right? So keep them motivated and teach them how to be resilient. So tell me some tell us one major operational challenge that you faced, and how did you tackle that, and how did you teach you and the teams on the resilience part?
Yeah. See, one day-to-day, I can quote a day-to-day example which is happening every day is, for example, in a typical operation role, the most important how you start the day. So we
Hmm.
have fleet buses which is starting in a particular time, and if one particular vehicle or one employee doesn't board on time, it affects the entire ecosystem of the particular route. Everything goes in a thing, and you end up coming late, and it also might lead to a productivity loss. Okay,
Hmm.
but for the employee, for he expects to be more flexible, right? Even if it comes late to a particular point, okay, somebody drops him or he has his own issues. Okay, he has to come from a point A to point B on his own. For us, we are ruthless in terms of system and process. So
Hmm.
we have a mixed kind of approach, as I told you. We do a kind of balancing act, try to help him out initially, maybe one or two cases, and then subsequently ensure that it doesn't happen. Now you won't believe, but I told you initially this kind of deviations happened almost consistently for few days and weeks. Of course, the end destination time did not impact much. That was in my control. But subsequently, what happens? We started mentoring them. We call these people that if you look at it, there are always the set of people who require that kind of support. It may be due to time management, or it might be due to priority in their planning, all these things. So you address those people and make them understand how a small deviation in their planning affects the overall ecosystem. Then involve other people, form a committee with the like-minded people in their own ecosystem, and make them also share the success story, how they're doing their things. So these things will help them, and they themselves will get motivated, and they will start. The person who become habitual kind of offender becomes a kind of a more sort of an example in all aspects. So we have to look at ways and means to address this. Motivation is one aspect. Listen to them. Empathic listening makes a lot. See, he has his own problem. For example, one of the time when I asked this person, he said on the way there was an accident. He helped the person. So there, as a leader, though we have a systems and process thing, I started looking empathically. Yeah, I
Mm.
said, okay, fine. So there are genuine reasons will be there. So that's why I said we have to communicate openly. It's a open way, two-way things, and then make them come back to your fold.
Sometimes we do mistake and learn from it. We correct that.
Absolutely.
So if I ask you, what's one mistake you made early in your leadership career that you now see as a crucial learning moment?
See, I have only 10 fingers. Otherwise, I'll show you a much bigger one. See, you cannot learn without doing mistakes. For a committed person, you don't. It's towards life. There's nothing called mistake. It is help you. It's experience. It is a teaching. For example, when I navigated my career, when I navigated my verticals, it's all maybe a mistake at that point of time, but that gives us something called wisdom, which is very very knowledgeable, which is very very tangible towards them. So instead of looking at it as one mistake, I'll say I did a series of mistakes, learn from it, ensure that I don't do it, and that has helped me to become lighthouse for people who are on the path of doing the same mistakes. So everything comes with a benefit and also a cost. That's why you have to take life.
No, you are right in saying that. I think without mistakes we don't grow as leaders, right? So there are some things that we would do and it will spark out things, and that spark at times could become a lessons learned, and we take risks when a critical pointer comes in where you have to take a point and stand by it, saying that yeah, this is how it is going to be done because it's not working the way we had planned, right? So that deviation has to be taken, and that's I think is one crucial thing that we do as leaders, right? Now coming to the point where we've been talking about burnout and all these things happening over and everywhere now Narayan Murthy is saying 70 hours, there is other people talking about 70 hours and stuff like that. Now already if you really look at, I don't want to say this is because I'm taking names because that is how it has come up. It's not to offend them, they are leaders of the industry, and they have their views and they would not make such comment just like that. There would be some rationality behind it, right? So where is this pointer going in terms of burnout and something on
Yeah. Very, very. Yeah.
operation day-to-day role, right? And here you need to look at empathy and somewhere burnout also to be joined together. So how do you look at from that perspective on operations? So any views on that,
Yeah.
Suresh?
I will look this as a two questions. First, when you're talking about 90 hours, 80 hours, first of all, that's become very comical, as you rightly said. It became a topic across the globe. People who talk that
Yeah.
particular topic in a particular context has become a subject topic for various panel discussions. Okay. So, which is, there are
Mm,
two things. One is a
mm,
content, one is a context, right? That when you talk about number of hours, maybe that person's experience, let me let's keep it aside. But today's context, that doesn't work. Okay, in the sense when you
mm.
like your job, okay, that's what I'm telling you. When you don't look at hours, you automatically start investing. Why 90? Why can't be in 100? Okay, but when you do as a
Yeah.
force, when you do as a rule, even that person will not be interested to do in 30 hours. So one is the two things. When you have a develop a passion, more importantly, very difficult for people to understand the passion. Okay, that happens, that comes to you at the later stage of life, but keep searching for it. Other thing is, have a purpose in life. That also for initial
Mm.
Gen Z or millennials and all, it's not a no to the understanding. So I'll say enjoy your what do you do. Okay, what do you do, right? then automatically the hours don't count at all. I'll give you a small example. When you go to a movie, right? Have you ever
Hmm.
felt
Hmm.
the last so many years that you've been forced to do it unless the movie is so very horrible? You are so intense and relaxed. You enjoy the each and every
Yeah.
moment, all right? And especially when you go with the family, okay? So that's because there you don't see that as a work, right? So
Hmm.
similarly, try to make it enjoyable whatever you do. So okay, let's say you're to be in that office for 10 hours. Okay, that's the expected one. The 10 hours you do it out of joy. It's not. It's easier said than done. It took us years with all the later learnings and everything. But what I'm trying to say is, do not give a number to it. Right? The 10 hours or
Hmm.
9 hours
Hmm.
doesn't matter. What you contribute inside that between the login and logout matters. But do a focused approach. If you're able
Right.
to do it only 8 hours, fine. Do it. Do it to get the best out of it. So I would advocate that.
I think, Suresh, I'll add to what you're saying. I think what we are seeing or what we are hearing at the moment is, one is work should be passionately driven, right? Not a scheduled kind of a work that they should be looking at.
Right.
And when you have passion, you don't look at the clock, right? When you look at the clock, you don't have passion. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
there is always a contradiction there. But what happens at many of the cases is, when a guy wants to solve a problem, he never looks at the watch,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
And he gets into it. And but what we see in operations is, it is always like that, right?
Yes.
Operations is always to see that the operations are working 24 bar 7,
Correct. Right.
the services are up, or the products that we support are up.
Right.
Now, in that scenario, the passion or the empathy is what we are thinking, or what we should look at, because it becomes, sometimes it's a straight job. I have to take a backup, possible one way of looking at an IT system. The other side is, you'll have to prepare certain reports that are tedious and time consuming, right? That
Right.
also is one thing that in an operational piece. So
Right.
now we'll not deviate into AI and other stuff which are coming, and automation of reports and stuff is happening. That's the next thought process that is going on. But what we are talking is, or what we are hearing from you is, more about empathy and the way that burnout is to be controlled. Am I right in saying that, Suresh?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to add to this point, yeah, I didn't touch about the last point about the burnout. See, burnout today, forget about the work.
Hmm.
Even in college, it happens. Okay, I'll just take a personal example. My son is the
Yeah.
IIT thing. So now he's doing his master's there. Almost every day he spends around 12 to 15 hours. Now, there is a purpose behind it. There is an interest behind it. And then we thought, okay,
Hmm.
how do we lessen that? I can't reduce this curriculum or academic.
Hmm.
The only thing is I put him in the hostel. It's hardly
Hmm.
30 minutes from my place to the campus. So that reduces his travel time. Okay, we have to look at ways and means
Hmm.
how to make your life better, how to make your the
Hmm.
working better. So I'm giving this
Okay.
example because it doesn't start from work. It starts nowadays from the college days itself. Okay, so you have to find and I mean, as a parent, how we guidance. That's where the mentorship comes into the play. When you work with the teams, you identify people who have this issue, talk to them. Everybody's way of looking at work is different. Everybody's skill sets are different.
Hmm.
Everybody's competency, again, is not matching. So you'll have to find, there's no one particular rule. But in the broader context, I will say, yeah, finding a purpose, finding a passion may take some more time. Look, okay, I'm here to, I'll enjoy this work. That's a very typical trick which he has to tune to his mind. Maybe if he's got a commitment,
Hmm.
EMI, it's all the more better. Okay, that will drive him. If he's got a family, that will still
Yeah.
drive him better. He's got somebody to take care of it. So you have to look at it because since I talking about IIT, because we do get news across the best minds of the country. Sometimes they're not able to bear the pressure. So why even talk to the corporate? So it's basically how you keep your mind and mindset. And for example, I'll tell about my hack which I do. As you Prem was lightly telling, my day starts so right from control of the fleet, and then till the last employee gets stopped at night. So I take a 15 minutes meditation hack. Okay, no, ruthlessly. Okay, um, If any, I just my mobile will be in I'll be in a 5,000, 50,000 fleet air freight mode, right? So that gives me a kind of energy back. So not may not be everybody have that thing, but you find out what is it. Suppose if music is a thing, take some time off. Okay, come back for the track, because mind is something which you have to, for focusing a thing, you have to defocus so many things. That's a trick. Otherwise, working for 10 hours, taking right decisions is a circus, right? So you have to know how to tightrope walk in the circus. So that is a skill which leaders have to um, demonstrate, teach people, empower them.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Suresh.
Since we are talking on burnout and how we manage the pressure, so it becomes emotional intelligence, right? So if I ask, how can leaders support an emotionally intelligent workplace while driving operational
Yes.
excellence?
Yeah. See, at the end of the day, we are with people, right? We are working very closely with people. So emotions do matter a lot. What if I say, imagine what I say to my people, 60, 70 people who are using my transport. Hey, look, I don't care whether you come to office or not, or I don't bother whether you what time you leave. For me, this is a set of rules. Or do you think would I get command and respect to my people? Then if similarly, there's a one way. The second way is, hey, look, I have a problem. Okay, I have a problem with this particular portion, this particular point. Can we address this jointly? So then he will come with his own issues. We'll find out, ways and means how that can be fine tuned. So leaders by default have to work with the EI balance. Emotional intelligence is very very important one. It is no more only a mechanical way of, yeah, with all AI coming into this picture. That's one trait which is going to be a key differentiator between you and AI. So as somebody was telling yesterday, very interestingly, AI can only be a co-pilot, right? You are the pilot, you are the
Yes.
driver. Okay, but if you allow that to be taking a driver's seat, then your entire manifestation of human thing is you yourself are giving it away, right? So that is it. Yeah,
You're right. I was part of Microsoft's Copilot launch in
yeah. I think
Bangalore.
sorry,
I
sorry,
met
sorry,
couple
not telling you about the author. It is Prem actually.
So I was hearing that the same stance that you are saying is uh, Microsoft made it very clear when they named it, is what I understand, right? When they made it co-pilot, that means AI is supposed to be a enabler, not decision maker. So that is what they have been very clear, and the name is very clearly suggesting that it is a co-pilot. It is
Yeah,
not the
yeah,
pilot. So when Microsoft presented that co-pilot summit there in Bangalore, what I understood from Microsoft is it is more to give you options where you look at how it can be enabled and support you in decision making in giving you options. Like it is a, what I can say, it's a multiple choice question
right.
kind of, right? Where it gives you multiple options where you say, if this is the scenario, this is what could be the outcome. So the right example was on an accident, which I've spoken in my previous episodes also. That analogy which it gave was really nice, and it was a true enabler to give you perspectives. But I was looking at something else also somewhere in another video, is that are we going into a stage where earlier we searched in Google and we had around 5,000 sites coming up and say it is your decision to find out what is the right answer. Now with AI and ChatGPT coming, you get only one answer. So which one is the correct answer? Are we forced to take that one answer which ChatGPT or any other tools like Gemini or now DeepSeek and stuff are telling? Are we getting into a stage where you ask something, you get one answer, and you believe that is the answer?
So, yeah, as you rightly said, see, technology is something which we cannot move away. For
Yeah.
example, for my operations, day in day out, I use technology for the, commuting, right? So it's AI is only
Hmm.
advanced version. You cannot escape from it. But then the reality is how you can better that. Okay, See, after all, it all invented by us. The most sophistication machine on earth is a human, right?
mm,
We only invented
mm,
everything. Okay, so I would say a kind of a balance instead of relying everything on that. Okay, I think you also take the support from them. Let it be enabler, as you rightly said. You should not look at it. You have to collaborate with
mm.
it. There's no other way. If you start competing with it, then there'll be an issue. A co-pilot rightly basically
Yeah.
helps you for a takeoff and smooth landing, right? The right word rightly is. Imagine you say, "I don't want to work with the co-pilot," and you know what's going to happen. So as simple as it.
Yeah, so with that, I think what I want to understand from you, Suresh, is see, when we do certain changes, there is always resistance that happens, right? And we normally tend to forget change is the only thing that is happening. And if you look at humans, you are, say, 1 year older, 1 hour older than the time we started this podcast. Now, right? It is a change, and every second there is a change in your life. You are, say, 50 years, 50 years,
Right,
1 hour. So that's a change, and every second there is
right.
a change that is happening. Now, we tend to resist change. How do you handle resistance to change, especially when you are talking to young professionals? Because our methodologies, our processes are different. Young people think they will change the world
Yes,
next
yes.
moment. So, how do you look at
Yes.
that?
See, this is one of the biggest challenges we face. Any new thing, immediately there'll be resistance. We know that it's going to happen. So what we do is, we subtle way of doing it is, what are the benefits he is going to get out of it? Put that in the
Hmm.
first thing, as though instead of you enforcing that, make those people understand, hey, look, this is not only for organization benefit, there is also a thing. Let's do as a trial approach. That's one way of looking at it. The moment you take trial,
Hmm.
okay, they'll have a start period, end period. Okay, so he mentally is
Hmm.
prepared. Okay, they're aware that if it works, the organization will continue. If this particular approach is not going to work, it's going to be a thing. So when he works with that kind of
Hmm.
mindset, at least first you're making him come on board. Once you make him
Hmm.
come on board, you start experiencing it. There may be issues, yes. Even the kind of trial may not take off well. Then let's go back to the drawing board, see that it can be fine tuned. But this resistance to change is a mindset issue, fundamentally, because he has not seen what is the benefit of after the transition, right? And as leaders,
Hmm.
we have to understand from his point why he is resisting. Everybody, right? For example, let's say you are going from point A to point B, from your office to residence in a particular way for so many days or years. Suddenly, if there's a diversion, you suddenly feel that resistance, right? Your mind starts working because you will be in autopilot mode. You will be driving the car, your mind will be thinking about the project, or you'll be talking to something. So you never used your mind driving from A to B. But suddenly this diversion happens, you have to start using your mind. Okay, so it's a kind of small
Hmm.
discomfort.
Hmm.
There's all insecurity. See, these are the things which a leader has to understand from his angle. Why is he resistant to change? It is not he; it is also we. Okay, so so
Yeah.
when we also travel the journey, when you understand that and look, and as I was talking about the AI aspect or being empathic to that, you'll be able to find a interim solution. Okay, I wouldn't say honestly before even starting off you'll get a solution. You have to start off with that approach and and fine tune things and arrive at a concrete solution at the end of the trials. We have been doing it every for operation. It's always a change in any form. Okay, so we are doing that as a process.
From leadership perspective, see, as a while I talk about execution, strategy, decision making, right? How important it is to stay relevant, and what are the ways one can stay updated.
Yes. Um, One is participation in forums like this. As I was talking in the initial part, these kind of forums, every person, when they watch the kind of topics you discuss, that when you observe and listen to this, you get inputs. You see, there's a saying, no? One is you learning is you do mistakes and learn. The smart guy learns from other people's mistake. So these kind of these kind of forums does that. So get into this kind of networking sessions and Get enrich yourself in terms of knowledge. That's one thing. Second thing is, with all the AI coming into this, whether it's a co-pilot or pilot, you need to be relevant. Otherwise, otherwise even 50 can be 30 and 30 can be 50. It's all the difference between how you are relevant. As simple as it. For somebody who's relevant, there's no retirement. Because so much of options also keep coming. For somebody who's not into that, it may be a challenge with all the fast dynamic world. So if you had to summarize that, first is networking in the forums. I mean, when you say networking, get into the specific, relevant. Again, forums are trying to take the key takeaways, right? Meet people who are experts in the field. Talk to them. Okay, seek advice. Many of the things I've seen, people don't seek advice. Okay, that way will be the closed door. Be open. Have open communication. There are various corporate things where you can get in touch with all the expertise today, unlike earlier where the options are in just a fingertip. So these two are very very important, being relevant and keep upgrading yourself. For example, I was telling you initially, COVID was a blessing in disguise for me. That one particular instant, the 23rd or it is March 2020, nobody will forget. The entire world changed, and for people it also for the good, the sense like for people who are investing, wanting to invest themselves, you had a lot of time at your disposal. Okay, for people who wanted to get into transformation mode, because leadership and transformation not much difference. So there were times where I used to participate in weekends, 3 to 4 webinar Zoom sessions from various corporate leaders to gurus, and each of the seed which that planted that particular time germinates subsequently. So I would say look at various ways how you can enhance yourself. That will help you a lot.
Yeah, thank you for insights.
Thank you for that. I think what I would like to look at, coming to the fag end of the session, where we are talking about what is one. See, I would not say advice, because advice becomes a very common thing that happens in most of the things that we are talking here. What I understand or what I want to know is, in operations, what could be one piece of information which can be as a takeaway for the leaders, because operations nowadays is evolving on a rapid pace. Because you look at some of them getting automated in the operational pieces, and some of them still staying on the manual side, right? So what is one key takeaway that you would like to give to leaders, the operational fraternity executives, and what would it be?
Yeah, for especially for operations, I think it is a continuous improvement day in and day out. So the case and approach is which is a traditional method. Keep getting into the knowledge factor. It's a knowledge world. What the
Hmm.
system possibly out today may not be relevant tomorrow. So before the emergence happens, you'll have to, as a captain of the ship, you'll have to find out whether this thing can be better. So keep sharpening the saw. I would say that is the one particular keyword I would use it, because we are in a very fast dynamic world, and there is no mundane old traditional methods going to work. So sharpening the saw will be my singular uh, takeaway, which I'll like to give to the fraternity.
Okay. So with this, I think we are on the pointer there where we have discussed the pointers that we wanted to look at with you, Suresh. I'll do a small summary that we wanted to do on what we have taken as pointers. We spoke about leadership and human centric, which was there. We started with your introduction and the journey and what we had as a leader, and what was the leadership that is going to end. Some pointers where we spoke about some challenges, some of the pitfalls, and what could be some of the lessons. We spoke on empathy driven leadership and kind of a culture that we are looking at. We spoke on some decision making and strategy pieces as well, and what would be the outlook or an impact that is going to have as a takeaway for key pointers to the leaders and the operational fraternities, what we spoke about overall on this session. And this session has been a great session with your knowledge coming in as a pointer where it's a key takeaway. I put the scroll on where you can connect to Suresh and speak to him, and his LinkedIn link scrolling down here. And with this, I think, Suresh, any last pointers, or Vijay, you have any pointer that you want to ask Suresh before we conclude the session?
Yeah, keep doing this great work, Prem and team, and consistency is the key. Okay, so there's not no other example I can give you. In fact, I'm just looking at your kind of sessions where you got a continuous, 2 3 sessions lined up in a week. I think it goes beyond passion. I would not accept saying that for you it's passion, because your purpose is more bigger now. You're helping the corporate fraternity. So amazing work, and look forward uh, to see you cross the 300 magic figure and aim for much bigger things in this group. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Suresh.
Thank you, Suresh. With this, I think we are on the top of the hour. We have streamed this broadcast onto LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook as well. Today, we have added the stream to Insta as well, looking at the crowd there. And we hope this session or discussion was valuable for you people. And thank you for joining us. Our next episode is on the uh, 214th episode on the 25th of February at 6:30 p.m., where we are talking about unlocking the future, the role of geopositional data services and technology in the next generation of digital transformation, where we talk about geo-positioning part, where which is a new topic that we are trying to dive in and see how geo-positioning can help us in the digital transformation that we are going in the technology space. And we will talk on that on the 25th of February at 6:30 p.m. Hoping to see you there, and thank you. Suresh, stay online, and we'll come back to
Sure,
you
sure.
again before. Thank
Thank
you.
you.